Hi, this is Cheryl Gallant, your Conservative Member of Parliament for the whale of a riding of Algonquin Renfrew-Pembroke. Mark Carney appointed an old friend to be the head of Carney's new Defense Procurement Agency. They used to work together at the investment bank Goldman Sachs. Now we've learned that Carney is rewarding his friend with the highest salary in the federal government at almost $700,000 a year. During the election, Mark Carney told Canadians he would build, baby, build. He said Canada needed to build at speeds nobody thought possible. Now that he's building new bureaucracies at breakneck speeds, first he created a new bureaucracy called the Major Projects Office. The job of this bureaucratic office is to duplicate the work of the Impact Assessment Office. The new CEO for the Major Projects Office is paid over $500,000 a year. Next, he created the Build Canada Homes to duplicate the work of the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation. The new CEO for Build Canada Homes is paid over $400,000 a year. Now that we have the Defense Procurement Agency duplicating the work of the Defense Department with his nearly salary of $700,000. So Carney has spent $1.6 million to hire 3 people. But the CEO salaries are just the tip of the iceberg. What Carney's really building is the most corrupt government in Canadian history. We now have a 2-tier government, one tier for wealthy, well-connected Liberals, and another tier for everyone else. Before Carney, every major project, whether it was a mine or a dam or a highway, had to be approved by the Impact Assessment Agency. This was Trudeau's expensive new bureaucracy to delay and discourage projects in the name of net zero. What Carney has done is create a new bureaucracy that can ignore Trudeau's bad law and fast-track projects to approval. But in order to get on the fast track, your project has to be specially selected by the Liberal cabinet. Thanks to Carney's blind trust, we can't know if the companies that get fast-tracked will benefit Carney personally. If you have a project, there is no objective way for you to know how to be chosen by Carney. This widens the door to corrupt lobbying. That's when Liberal insiders tell companies that if you pay them enough, they can get you onto Carney's fast-track list. Whether it's true or not, doesn't matter. This is what someone as arrogant as Mark Carney just doesn't understand. Carney gets very huffy when anyone questions his integrity, but it wouldn't matter if he were as pure as driven snow. The very fact that Cabinet has the power to pick and choose who gets special treatment is inherently corrupting. This is why Conservatives are calling on the Carney Liberals to repeal Trudeau's damaging laws that hurt our economy and do nothing to protect the environment. Projects should be approved or rejected on objective merits, not the political whims of the Prime Minister. The decision by the Carney Liberals to kill 30 beluga whales is making international headlines. The whales are going to be euthanized as a direct result of Liberal policies and Liberal decisions. The Trudeau Liberals passed a law in 2019 that outlawed keeping whales and dolphins in captivity. Existing facilities such as the Vancouver Aquarium and Niagara's Marineland were allowed to keep their animals, but were banned from acquiring new ones. This law, combined with the government COVID lockdowns, meant that Marineland would no longer be able to be financially viable. The company's bankrupt and is soon going to run out of cash to feed the whales. That's why the company applied to the Liberal government for permission to export the whales to a facility in China. On October 1st, the Liberal fisheries minister rejected that request. The minister rejected the request despite knowing full well it would result in the animals being killed. In fact, she admits it in her statement. Quote, "Canadians expect me to act in the best interest of the whales. Under difficult circumstances, with regrettable outcomes, that's what I have done." End quote. The Liberal minister believes it's in the best interest that the whales be euthanized rather than live in captivity. The minister was fully aware that her decision would mean the whales would be killed. That's what she meant by regrettable outcomes. That's Liberal speak for dead. The Liberals knew the whales had been born at Marineland and could not be released into the ocean. They knew there was no viable whale sanctuary. They knew their whale law would kill Marineland's business. They had all the evidence in hand when they made the decision that could only have one regrettable outcome. Kristallnacht is the German name for what is known as the Night of Broken Glass. On November 9th, in 1938, the Nazi Party, the Hitler Youth, and many German citizens engaged in a campaign of violence against German Jews. Hundreds of synagogues were burned. Thousands of businesses were destroyed, leaving the streets of Germany covered in broken glass. It was the culmination of 5 years of Nazi propaganda and anti-Jewish laws. It foreshadowed the greater horror that was the Holocaust. Yesterday was the second anniversary of the largest mass killing of Jewish people since the Holocaust. Across our country, Canadians witnessed a celebration of that day by supporters of Hamas. These were decidedly not pro-Palestinian protests. Anyone who supports Palestinians would be protesting Hamas and demanding they accept the ceasefire. Palestinians in Gaza have begun to stand up to Hamas, with one clan managing to kill nearly 20 Hamas terrorists last week. What happened yesterday was clearly a celebration of Hamas and the genocidal attack on Israel. That such large rallies could happen across Canada is chilling. The fact is, we may not have much time left. According to Statistics Canada, in 2023, the odds of a Muslim Canadian being the victim of a hate crime was 1 in 8,416. For a member of the LGBT community, the odds were 1 in 1,512. For a Jewish Canadian, the odds were 1 in 372. We don't have the full data for 2024 yet, but it's clear the situation is now much worse. The longer we turn a blind eye to the growing foreign-funded hate movement, the more likely we are to see a Canadian Kristallnacht. Live from Ottawa, this is Cheryl Gallant.